Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number 1 in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Tiger Claw Radio, episode 221. Quite a week indeed. This past week we had up our first Talkin' Nintendo video, first of a 50-part NES series, and I do so hope you enjoyed it. Let's see, this week coming up we got some Talkin' ROM hacks, we've got some Blizzard being even weirder with Overwatch, we've got a little bit of discussion of some PS2 3D fighters, because I've got a lot of those in a short period of time. What else is going on? And some other stuff. But this week, guys, this is an all-star week for chiptunes, because I've got some primo stuff for you. This week, 221, is the mixtape. We're going to kick things off with a track from, what is this, Nordloef? Nordloef. I know that's not English. It's got to be like Polish or something. From 7 Force number 4. This is a 7-inch record that I believe is still available on vinyl. I'm thinking that might be worth the $10. But this is a great track. This is some awesome stuff. You guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Let's kick things off by talking about some 3D fighters. Forgive me if this is a little bit worn at this point here on TCR, but I put out a video a little while ago stating my new collecting goals. It's something I do, makes collecting fun. It gives me a list of achievements to get, and one such game was Tekken 4. Now Tekken 4 showed up in the mail finally. This is a game I went through great lengths to get, considering it's like a $5-6 game. I had ordered it previously. It took 2 months, and then I got a refund, and then I ordered it again, and from another seller, and they were able to send it, but not super quick, and the disc is in pretty rough shape. However, it did work, so finally got Tekken 4. And I'm looking back at the last bunch of PS2 games I got. Now, not all of the recent PS2 games I've acquired are 3D fighters, but a lot of them are. In fact, 5 of them are. Tekken Tag Tournament, Soul Calibur 2, Virtua Fighter 4, DOA 2 Hardcore, and Tekken 4. That's a lot of games. And on top of that, Soul Calibur 3 is also on my list. So those 5 games are going to become 6 pretty quickly. So let's talk about Tekken 4. Ah, man, I don't know. I wasn't feeling the magic. I know that the Tekken series is a beloved series that I have never really been a big part of. So I tried to handle it with reverence and care, and like, I know there's a good game here. Even if maybe it's not my favorite game, I know there's a good game here. Let's check it out. I wasn't finding it. There's very little sound effect at all whenever you punch or kick or there's an impact made. So you fight, and it feels very much like, soft kind of baby punches and kicks. I only sat down with it once though, and I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a bad game. I definitely need another PS2 memory card. That's for sure. Every single one of these games is taking up a nice fat settings spot on my PS2 memory card. And that's another issue I had. I ordered an additional PS2 memory card, and it never came, and I had to get a refund. That's been happening to me a lot lately. It's just occurring to me now, that's been happening to me an awful lot lately. Order something, it never shows get a refund. DOA 2 Hardcore is another game I picked up. Had some issues. This disc looked bad as well, just like Tekken 4 does. But what is weird is it doesn't look as bad as Tekken 4, but this actually is affecting the gameplay. The music won't play when you open up the game, and when I first put it in, you would go to the character select screen, and it would get stuck. Very weird issues. I don't know. I wish my capture device was working properly. I think it would have made for an interesting video, just because the game was malfunctioning. But that's unfortunate. So that's 2 games, the 2 most recent games I picked up for the PS2. Neither one of them was really a win. All right, let me get a sip of tea here. I've been off coffee since my surgery. I haven't had a coffee in let's see, what is it? 7, 8, 9 days? My goodness. In all that time, I guess I had 1 cup of decaf, like maybe 3 days ago, and that was enough. Alright, so there was a video that came out from good old Cinemassacre. Now, I haven't watched much of these James and Mike Let's Play kind of videos, but they did one where they dug into Mike Matai's big box of ROM hacks. So he's got a collection of reproduction carts for ROM hacks that he's been collecting. The way he says it, from way back when like the nerd was getting big. And these were like some pretty grimy ROM hacks, like Super Mario Brothers Strange Edition. And like clearly, there were a few of the essential reproductions in there. He had Earthbound Zero. He had Zelda Outlands. Those are the 2 big ones I think that everybody gets. Those 2 and then Sweet Home, I guess are the big 3. But a vast majority of them were like just terrible looking ROM hacks, and I was just watching this green with envy. Like, oh my goodness. I just thought it was the coolest thing, and I wished I had games like that. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Wait a second. I do have 1 ROM hack, don't I? At least 1 in my my reproduction collection that I got from Sendu. Sendu sent me a copy of Metal Sonic. And I hadn't really dug into the game. I mean, I put it in and I took a look at it to see what it was when it came, but I hadn't really dug into it. So this was my evening yesterday, alright? I put on Metal Sonic on the Sega Genesis downstairs. I sat on my bar stool, and then I had my record player going behind me. Oh my gosh. The best evening of video games I think I've had in a very long time. I never thought I would be into this band, but I got into Metallica lately. Well, I should amend that. I got into heavy metal lately. And I rediscovered that there was this phase in Metallica's career early on with Cliff Burton when they were making some good records. See, when I was a kid, I first heard Metallica when Load came out, and they were doing this really awful kind of like poppy stuff that was, I just thought was just absolutely garbage. That's the way I thought of them. That, and then like in the 90s when they spearheaded the lawsuit against Napster. Never one of my favorite bands until recently. That sort of turned around. I got into Metallica, and I started listening to Iron Maiden for the first time. I've always been a punk. I've been a punk. All right, Bad Brains, Fugazi, Minor Threat. If you really want to go light, then NoFX. Although I haven't really dug them in the last 10 years or so. I liked them a lot when I was younger. Rancid, all those guys. Only recently have I really become like into heavy metal. So here I was playing Metal Sonic on my Sega Genesis with my brand new vinyl copy of Ride the Lightning from Metallica spinning on my record player. That was a heck of an evening, man. I went ahead and went over to AliExpress, a website which, I might add, I've had some limited success with. On one hand, I've got some of my greatest Sega Genesis games. Not some of. I got my greatest Sega Genesis games from AliExpress for super cheap. On the other hand, I've also made orders that just haven't been fulfilled. One time I ordered 5 games, and then they came in a pack of 4, and the 5th game just never showed up. Right now I'm dealing with a game that I ordered in November that just never showed up. And here it is February. That was Battle Mania 2. That was one that I kind of really wanted to own. I heard that was a game that was really, really worth it. But on the other hand, my copy of Panorama Cotton, holy crap, $4. So I thought I'd roll the dice once again. Got a couple of ROM hacks. Nothing too crazy. A couple of Sonic hacks. I bought Sonic Classic Heroes, which is supposed to be really good, and the Phantom Sonic, the Sonic EXE, the Creepypasta Sonic, which is supposed to be like, I played that ROM. It's really like 5 minutes. It's just one that's like kind of fun to have in physical form, but not really super awesome to play in the long term. Be a good one to play with some good heavy metal spinning on the turntable. So that's that. I still haven't bought an NES Repro. That's something I should do, I think, in the near future, if I can find. Yeah, I don't know. There aren't too many NES games that I'm willing to pay $10+ for. There are a couple, but not too many. All right, so you might remember like 2 months ago, I went through a retrospective of Starship Amazing's early work. I never really got to what they're doing now. So this was a single they released in the last couple years after Derek's moved to Seattle. So I don't know how exactly this worked out, whether he telecommuted with Calvin and put this together. But they got a pretty great couple of tracks here. That are available for free. Now all of their work is pay what you want. So here's some modern Starship Amazing for you on Tiger Claw Radio. I read a story that Overwatch is going... Blizzard, rather, is going to moderate Overwatch by searching social media for people they deem toxic and applying bans based on that. So you don't even have to be talking trash in the game. If they're going to go through your personal accounts and decide whether or not they like you enough for you to enjoy the product you paid $60 for. I will never buy another Blizzard product that's brand new. I can't fathom a company getting away with something like that. That's the kind of thing, like, when you get a job, right? Your employer has to do that. Not somebody who sells software as a service subscriptions. That's ridiculous. But we'll see. You know, maybe the whole thing is hokey. I would have to see people start to get banned. People would have to start getting banned based on stuff they said on Twitter and whatnot. And that would be the determining factor. I haven't seen anything like that happen yet. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Hey, quick shout out to the patrons. These guys are pitching in to help bring TCR back every single week. So I like to give them a copy of the week's podcast early, as well as give them a little shout out. A hall of gentlemanly support. This is the TCR Hall of Fame. And they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, Six Health of Fury, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys so much for your contributions. Much appreciated. Alright, so let's talk about a few things I have in my notes that are going on. Rust is out of early access, finally, after all these years. I stopped playing Rust when I realized I couldn't change my character. It seems like such a simple thing. I really saw it as a design flaw in the game. You get assigned as some sort of character archetype when you purchase the game, and it's bound to your account, so you can't change it at all, even if you uninstall and reinstall. And they were praised for this as a bold design choice. I just thought it was really stupid. For a game that's all about frustration, I can't believe that they would make the user interface frustrating, you know? Seems kind of weird to me. So I uninstalled it quite a ways back. I only got about 14 hours into the game. But I got it on sale. I paid $10 for it, which was a good deal back when I got it. Well, they're finally out of early access. So that means two things. That means you can now request a refund if you bought it and only put 2 hours into it, because it just came out. And I'm hoping it means that they've added some features. So I'm going to reinstall Rust, and I'll report back to you guys next week. See if it's gotten any better. Got to be honest, I'm not holding my breath. In other news, there's say it's as if it's one of many. There's a new Tomb Raider arcade game coming out. It's a light gun game with 4 players, based on Tomb Raider, the new Tomb Raider character design. And that headline is all I got for you, because let's face it, I'll just wander down to my local arcade and play it, right? Not really. So I sat down with, well, let me take a step back. Amidst playing the ROM hacks that I've been playing lately, I had this thought, I know, I should hack a ROM. My friend Angie and I used to do this years ago when we were kids, so more than 10 years ago. Probably more than 15 years ago, we would load NES ROMs up on Nesticle, and we would change. Nesticle was an NES emulator that was popular at the time, that had some inbuilt hexing, some light hexing tools. So you could redraw some of the palettes, some of the tiles in the game, but the tile searcher would not put them in order. So you had to know what went where. So there were certain games you could edit, and there were certain games you couldn't. And I looked at a couple of videos on how to do that, and it suddenly hit me. Wait a second. Wait. I already had a modification project open that I haven't looked at forever. I was working on a Doom WAD. You guys remember that? Again, this is like a couple of months back. I made this announcement. The official Tiger Claw Radio Doom mod is underway. So that's what I started digging into. I have a map laid out that seems to work. I have to learn how to do just a couple of technical things. Basically, I need to know how to make doors and keys work, and I need to know how to make the switch that moves you to the next level work. Once I can do those 2 things, then I can continue on with making the Doom WAD. The big thing was making it so I could make more than one map, and I figured out how that works. I guess the reason why the whole Doom WAD thing stalled out for me was because I found this website, which was a huge directory of monster edits. So it occurred to me, hey man, these are all set up for you to download and use in WADs. So I could make a WAD pretty easily that just that uses all sorts of strange, exotic, modified monsters, and it's okay that I don't know how to, edit the monsters themselves. You just download them from the internet, stick them in your WAD, right? It's that easy, right? But apparently the importing process is incredibly convoluted. So that's what happened with me and Doom WADs. I gave up after trying to import monsters from the internet and failing. So I spent last night, we had the TV on, just doing some vanilla mapping, some basic map creation in good old-fashioned Doom 2. And you know what? It was fun. I know I'm not going to make anything that's going to, go down in the history books, but it was fun. It was a good time. What else is going on? Okay, so there was a chiptune artist that I used to like many years ago called 8-Bit Chintendo. He appeared on it's a Polish artist, and he appeared on the 8BC. So that'll tell you how long ago it was. 8BC closed down in like 2010, 2011, something like that. So and I got an album, I think it was called Lo-Fi something. Hold on a second. I went out and re-downloaded this album from like a bunch of years ago. That's what I'm driving at. So back in the day, hang on a second, let me navigate to it real quick. 8-Bit Chintendo, here we go. Lo-Fi World. I downloaded this back in the day, and I played a couple tracks of it on TCR back in those days. Vintage Video Game Geek caught wind of it. He's like, where's that from? So I told him about it. Go get yourself a copy. It's good stuff. And he ended up using some of the tracks in multiple videos, as well as, I believe, the title track ended up being the Retro Rejects theme song. Listen to this, see if you recognize it. This is where NES Complex would kick in. You're listening to the Retro Rejects. a good track, man. I had to dig for that album though. There's no sort of listing for it anywhere. So I eventually found the guy had a profile on like SoundCloud or something, one of those websites that I don't really use. And he had a link to a page set up with his discography. So he stayed busy since then. That album came out in 2010. And I downloaded all the rest of his discography. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 different albums, including compilations that he's been on. So that was really cool to see somebody from back in those days who, like, was still around and still doing stuff and didn't just, like, do that and something else and then just disappear. So just for old time's sake, let's play the track that I was really into back in those days, Colored Pixels. Now this, in its time, topped the charts over at the 8-Bit Collective. It was the #1 downloaded track the week it came out. And you're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. It's still good. What a great track. It's still good. Oh man. I might have said this last week, but it still kind of shocks me that the U Collective has disappeared. And this is something I wrote in my notes that I wanted to go over, but I'm not exactly sure what direction to take it in, but is chiptunes, like, are chiptunes dying? Is that a thing? I think maybe not, but it's clearly not as prevalent as it used to be. I'm having a hard time getting a hold of like brand new chip releases. I couldn't really find any. I mean, for the past couple of months, all of my releases had come from the Pterodactyl Squad for full albums, right? And they you know, they release maybe like an album a month, but it's been a while. And then the 8-Bit Peoples, which was the net label for chiptunes in the old days, they haven't released an album since TCR returned. All right, what are we on? Episode 221 now? And I think TCR returned to the air, unlike episode 174. So it's been several months, at the very least. Nothing new on 8-Bit Peoples. I go to the chipmusic.org. I head over there. And the latest tracks over there, let's see. The latest track over there was, it looks like they're averaging like maybe 2 songs a week. Let's see, how many came out in January? Probably 10 tracks in January. Yeah, just about that. 2, maybe 3 songs a week. They're clearly past its heyday. But it seems like the format has changed a little bit. The format of distribution. Now mixtapes are a big thing. There's a couple of places you can go for really extensive mixtapes. Battle of the Bits is one such place. Let's see. Winter Chip 13. So they're people are submitting chiptunes to try and get on this compilation disc that's going to come out. And if you go to the Battle of the Bits releases on Bandcamp, you can download the very last comp that came out for free, but everything older than that costs money. So you're looking at maybe 30 different albums here, all from various people in the scene, from like $2 to $5 a piece. On the other hand, this one that came out, I downloaded a copy of it. I haven't listened to it all the way through, but I've spot checked it. You're looking at like, well, 12 tracks. That isn't that much. Some of these are really huge. I don't know. Chiptunes are different now. There's no, and I've said this many times before, there's no one source anymore. There used to be a clear scene on one website, and that was 8-Bit Collective. And then there were, on top of 8-Bit Collective, we had some net labels around, right? So even though the 8BC went down, the net labels still exist. So we've got like, I only really visit 2, but I think there's like 6 or 7 that are actually active. So I'm going around trying, what I want to find is I want to find the albums that are made just by dudes who have Famatracker and decide to cut an album, because you used to be able to find that. There were message forums. Somebody would make a post in the releases forum and say, "Hey, I released this album. It's called Doodly Bopper, Keypad, Swiggly Boop, Metroid, Mega Man, whatever." You'd go download it. You'd see that it probably had 10, maybe 20 downloads. You know what I'm saying? You'd get to the real underground stuff. It's kind of hard to find that now. You really got to scrape for it. It's one of the reasons I was so glad to get that 8-Bit Chintendo album. Wow. This Battle of the Bits website, I just kind of started going to a couple days ago. Maybe this is where everyone is. People are submitting their entries, trying to get on these comps, and that's where all the entries are going. So this, I guess, has turned into be the new 8BC. Probably been that way for years too, because if you look in their discography, it goes back quite a bit. Man, it's funny. I've tried to re-tap the well of chiptunes and have failed a couple of times. But yeah, this seems to be pretty cool. I'm gonna dig into the Battle of the Bits mixtape. I think when we return next week, that will be our chiptune feature. But for now, I want to go back to an artist that was on the U Collective. Now that the U Collective is gone, I still have several tracks that were only available there that I got there. So wow, those are now orphaned tracks. If I lose my MP3 folders, they're gone. And one that I played on TCR quite a bit was Weird Bananas. Weird Bananas was nobody I had gotten an album from, but he had maybe 6, 7, 8 tracks, something like that, on U Collective, and a couple of them were really good. It's good stuff. So I looked him up and I found whatever. Well, actually, let's do this. First, let me dip back into my folders and let's see if I can find the orphaned track. It doesn't seem to be here. I think those are probably on a separate computer. That's unfortunate. I hope I still have them. Alright. Instead of that, I was able to get 2 albums straight out of the Cosmos and XXY from Weird Bananas, just to see what else he's got going on. Some good stuff, so let's check that out. This track, appropriately named Eating Pizza and Listening to Cheesy 80s Music, is from the album XXY from Weird Bananas. So this is the part of the show where I like to just enjoy the fact that we're a small show, take advantage of the small group we have, and answer some questions, comments, anything you have that you want to be read on the air. Now, the best way to get in touch with me is by YouTube. The YouTube comments will be read. Also, the show is distributed on thenextround.net as well as a few other places. So thenextround.net, you can leave comments there as well. I've got other places where you can reach me. I do the best I can to aggregate those comments, so if you write me an email, I'll do the best I can. But those 2 places are the guaranteed spots, all right? So we got one. Let's start with one from good old Sean, the Gaming Beast, who I haven't heard from in a while, so it's really nice to hear from him. He writes, "Sorry about not posting comments. I've been kind of down lately. I'm happy you're recovering from surgery. Take care of yourself, broski. Ikaruga is hard as heck for sure. Tyrian 2000 and Elemental Master are my favorite vertical shooters. Bomberman is also a good choice for couch co-op with a more casual friend. That and Worms. Oh, yeah, Worms is a good choice. I'm still really pumped that you tried the Famiclone cart that I gave you. Might need to get a Famiclone-capable machine myself. I've been in a Fallout kick myself. Played through the third and second game. Whew. E-Honda was always very cheap for me, for sure. I played the Fog version of Carmageddon recently. Fog version. Let's see. It has some issues, some lag issues, but it's still playable. Still a great game. Question of the week. What GOG game do you have but haven't played yet? Take care, broski. Let's backstep to this whole Fog version thing. I believe he meant to say GOG version, but if you look at the keyboard, the F and the G keys are right next to each other. But I didn't immediately spot it because Sean knows more about these kinds of games than I do. So it's like, hey, maybe there's like a Fog version where there's all this, lo-fi, and that's how they dealt with the 3D by making the fog like in Silent Hill. But I think he means GOG version in this case. So, GOG version, what GOG game do you have but haven't played yet? Quite a bit, actually. Let's fire up Galaxy and take a quick look. Okay, there are a number of, looks like there's an update. Isn't there always? General improvements, added indication on game view if the beta's channel is no longer available. Update later. Alright. There are a lot of games that I have on GOG that I may have tried just to see, like, make sure it, like, ran, see what the title screen looked like, and then shut off. So those I wouldn't count, because I haven't, like, really played them. Immediately what comes to mind is all of the other Elder Scrolls games that I have, because I wanted to get Daggerfall on GOG so that I could just have direct access to the game and have it keep track of my time. So I ended up buying Battlespire, and then immediately afterwards I bought the other game, which now the title of it escapes me, because it was very cheap. So those two games, Battlespire, and what was the other game called? I know you're going to be screaming at me, Sean, because I know you know it is. Redguard, there we go. Battlespire and Redguard, and then I also have not played Arena. So there's 4 Elder Scrolls games that I got a hold of just to play Daggerfall. And then not immediately afterwards, later than that, it turns out that there was a zip you could download with an exe that would launch you straight in, that was already patched with the latest bug fixes and stuff. While we're on the subject of the Elder Scrolls, that guy, Hemrock, you pointed out a video from Zarek, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's that guy that wears a suit and a tie with a really wide Windsor knot, right? And he talks with his hands a lot, and he wears glasses. Looks like a car salesman, or like an insurance salesman. Like he's trying to sell you a policy on the best insurance you could have. But it's not. He's trying to explain how to install Morrowind or whatever. I had seen that guy before. Yeah, he's clearly the authority on Elder Scrolls games. At least the early ones. So yeah, I watched some of that and learned quite a bit, so thanks for that. Elder Scrolls immediately comes to mind. Another one is that when they package games together, there's usually games that go unplayed, right? For example, I was going to say Hidden and Dangerous 2, but actually I don't think I have that. Let's see my library. Hidden and Dangerous was a game that I had as a kid, so I bought it. Okay, no, I don't have Hidden and Dangerous 2. I guess those aren't packaged together. Wing Commander's got some games. When I sit down to play Wing Commander, I usually play Wing Commander 2. But I also played a little of Wing Commander 3 way back in the day, like around when I first got my flight stick. But I've had Wing Commander 4 all this time. And I think even Kaiser at one point was like, dude, you got to play this game. Never played it. Wing Commander 4, never played it. You know what else I've never played? Wing Commander Privateer, which is supposed to be one of the highlights of the Wing Commander series. So those deserve my attention. Just a couple to answer your question. I mean, I could probably go on quite a bit, especially if you started talking about games that have expansion packs. You know how like a lot of the GOG games will come with their expansion pack? I never play the expansion packs. I never play the games quite that much. Even Wing Commander, right? The secret missions. I even have that on Super Nintendo. I've never dug into the secret missions on Wing Commander. I should, though. I really should. All right. Let's go back to the comment. Was there anything else in here? Yeah, Carmageddon. Carmageddon's a good game. You know, I looked in the Steam user guides for Carmageddon, and apparently there's a way to control the camera. Like, there's a pretty good guide on modernizing the original Carmageddon without having to resort to a source port. I might go back and try it that way, because there were some camera issues with the first Carmageddon that I would have issues with. For example, if you rammed into someone, right, to try and knock them out, and then you tried to back up and then run forward and ram them again, when you backed up, the camera would move so that you could no longer see them. So when I would play it, I would have to hit the button to switch to the dashboard view while I backed up, and then hit it again to switch back to lurch forward and ram them. And I had to do that because I had no camera control. Just one problem. It would be nice to play Carmageddon, the original Carmageddon, without having that issue. But we'll see. I got a lot of this other stuff to play right now. You know, don't we all? Don't we always? So don't know if that's actually going to be something I am able to make time for or not. Yeah. So Gaming Beast, Sean, my old friend. Thanks for writing in, man. I'm sorry you're having a hard time. It's always good to hear from you. I wish you all the best in the world. I really do. All right, let's go back a little bit. We've got a few comments from Dumaze on the last podcast. He writes, I do have a modded Saturn, but no expanded memory. So Fighters Megamix, I'll have to check first to see if it needs expanded memory so I can check it out. Yeah, man. My friend had Fighters Megamix. I remember him playing it. Maybe he rented it. I saw it being played live once as a kid, and it just looked bonkers. Would love to see it now. But, you know, being old, it probably wouldn't quite stack up. It'd probably be more akin to something like Toe Ball or something like that. I don't know. I really don't know. I would love to play it, though. I could and can beat Karateka on the C64. Funny thing is, when you step into the last room with nothing but your girlfriend after beating the final boss, if you want her into your karate stance, she'll kill you with one shot. The first time I was so pissed when that happened. You gotta press space on the C64 to enter normal walking stance, to walk into her arms. And I'm not gonna read the last part. That's funny, I never knew that. It's such a sweet looking game. Alright, he also writes, I want to help you by teaching you how to pronounce my internet name, because I did not want to bother doing it, but every time I hear you say it, it causes me harm. It's duh, like dumb, then mez, like mez, not maze. Dumez. But mez like fez, with an accent on the second syllable. Dumez. Alright. Dumez it is. My apologies. He also writes, I have 2 Capcom Fighter Power Sticks for SNES, so if you've not used one before or seen one, I'm going to make a video featuring it pretty soon, covering its features and whatnot. Guess you could call it a review, so stay tuned. Is it good or does it suck? Alright, stand by on that. Do I have my Genesis stick? Because Fighter Power, that sounds awfully familiar. That sounds like the same thing. Yeah, here it is. Hang on. No. This is Fighter Stick SG6. Not quite the same thing. Yeah, make it. I'll watch it. Sounds great. I feel like I missed one. Yeah, here we go. So I made that video about Astyanax, and Demez made some comments. Astyanax is awesome. Hidden gem. I'm not sure if it's the same developer, but if you look a video up of Legendary Axe on TurboGrafx 16, it's almost the same. Like it could be a sequel of each other. Check it out. Exact same attack style and everything. Astyanax is way better than Altered Beast, he says. Wow, shots fired. I think there's people on this who listen to this podcast who would disagree with you. I guess I got to play more Astyanax. I haven't beat it yet. This is great because there was another comment from DEZM Desm101 who I had never met before. I'd never heard of. So that is awesome that somebody who I'm not familiar with surfed in and watched something. He writes, fun game. Pretty sure there's an arcade version too, which is even more similar to Legendary Axe. Cool, man. Thanks for the comments and for watching the videos. I think that's about it for the failed bag. Oh no, there's a couple more. Kaiser and Death Adder. Let's see. Death Adder writes, glad your surgery went okay. Billy Mitchell is the effing man. I wish I had the balls in my real life to live my life as a real life wrestling heel 24/7. I did check out the new Jason. I kind of like the new Roy Jason. The blue mask and shears are pretty sick. Sure, Jason Voorhees might be an unstoppable swamp zombie, but Roy, nobody's messing with Roy. The one time I played since the update, it was a disaster. But I've seen this guy also. It looks great. I should go back and play some more Friday the 13th. I really do like that game. Yeah, and by the way, I'm doing great post surgery. I've been recovering quite well. They say I still can't lift anything that's over 20 pounds, so not for another 3 weeks. So we'll see how that goes. Retro Kaiser writes, holy crap, didn't know you were in the hospital. Glad everything is better. Also, you forgot to read my email response from 219. Well, I'll just post it here. You know, the email that you're posting here, it sounds awfully familiar. I think I might have read it on my own and then forgot to go back and read it on the air, but let's go through it anyway. Hey CF, had a blast listening to 219 while playing games for the Easy Cheeves group. Number 1, Ikaruga sounds like a good choice for the next shmup down. I finally joined on the scoring by playing Raiden 4, and yeesh, I thought I'd do better than what I did. I ended up being last so far by 1 million points. That game is a lot tougher when you're actually going for scores, as getting killed off and not using the bombs really do mean something. I use the fairy character. Oh wait, skate fairy joke. As she is fast and can get between tighter gaps. The problem is she's small and the gameplay is boxed into a little box. It makes it hard to keep track of. I'm still going to try to win with her as she has potential. When I get a new computer screen that allows tilting so I can do tape mode, you betcha there'll be a score war. Number 2, dude, I'm an E-Honda player in Street Fighter 2, and not even I can get upset that he isn't included in any other Street Fighter game. 3, if you're recording more one-on-one matches, I'd be glad to. We got Lag or Alive 5, Street Lagger 5, and the not-so-laggy Fightcade. Although a bunch of people I've seen in the chat are utter full-blown swear word people. I had to cut that last bit out. Number 4, read the whole email. Number 5, I also recommend Twinkle Star Sprites for future shmup down update. I'm currently leading at about 900,000 points. Twinkle Star Sprites is a great game. I have read this, dude. I'm sure I've read it. Because I remember talking about MagFest. My friend and I played Twinkle Star Sprites for like a couple of hours, and we used our arcade sticks. It was like 2 or 3 MagFests ago. And my buddy was playing it at this past MagFest on a candy cab, and it was like projected up onto the screen. So that, like on like one of the walls in like super gigantic projection. So he could see it on his candy cab. But then it was also on the wall in the background. If you go back and watch my MagFest video, I took some footage of it. So you can see that for a couple seconds. Yeah, Ikaruga. I also got your Ikaruga score. You did send that in an email. I think next week is the week. I said it was going to be this week. I should do it next week, where I'm finally going to compile all the scores, all of the known scores that I can dig up for Raiden 3, Raiden 4, and Ikaruga. And yeah, man, I have not yet launched Ikaruga. in terms of high score challenge. I still was playing Raiden 4, and I was enjoying Raiden 4 quite a bit, and played it quite a lot for this challenge. But I've reached a point where I set a score, and it seems like I'm not passing that score anymore. So I'm definitely not going to win the Raiden 4 challenge. That competition got really stiff really quick. So I'll have to figure out who the current title holders are, and get back to you guys next week on that. Also, don't feel bad about using the fairy character in Raiden 4, because I'm pretty sure Swingle uses the fairy character as well. I can't remember why I didn't want to use the fairy character. I tried her, but I decided not to stick with her. I can't remember if it was the way the bombs worked. Maybe that was it. I don't know. I'm still using the default ship. I've tried all three. The middle ship is something more akin to the way the ship works in Raiden 3. So there's like a Raiden 3 ship and a Raiden 4 ship. And then there's the ferry. So I used the default, the Raiden 4 ship. I don't know what they're called. I know they have names, but I can't think of what it is. But that was a great game. That was a great high-scoring battle. That's like when I start these things and I'm like, let's all rally around a game and go for a high score. That's like what I'm hoping will happen. Something like that, where a few people chip in, and there's enough motivation to play a game like that on like a single credit run over and over again. So thanks to everybody who's been playing those types of games. So that's it, everybody. That's Tiger Claw Radio episode 211. If you're still listening, whatever it is in your life that has brought you here, 58 minutes and 10 seconds in, thanks for spending some time and hanging out. I just want to wish you the best week you can have. Keep trying, man. Keep doing what you got to do. I can't tell you how important it is to keep going, especially on those days where you feel like it's all, maybe there's no point. Especially those days. Keep at it, and I will see you guys next week.